This show contains movie spoilers and swearing. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Bitesize Cinema. I'm your host RJ McCready, and for this episode I'm going to be taking you guys back to the year in 1998 to look at Guy Ritchie's cult classic movie Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. And joining me today for the show, I couldn't think of anybody better to talk about this movie with, is my good friend Mark Lockhart. Mark, how you doing, bud?
How you doing?
Yeah, good to have you back on the show, mate.
Yeah, good to be back, mate. It's good fun. Enjoyed the last one.
Yeah, that was it. Beverly Hills Cop, wasn't it? We did.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop. Such a good film.
$5,000. $5,000.
5,000. Read my lips. $5,000.
Is that a banana in your tailpipe? Oh God.
So timeless.
So this is another quotable movie, isn't it? I mean, that's probably the understatement for this film. But before we get into Lock, Stock, what have you been up to, mate? You been up to anything?
So I did a little stint doing a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Like acting, but some upcoming TV series and films, which is cool. Got myself a new job working in the film and TV industry.
Yeah.
I work for an action car company that provides action vehicles for, again, film and TV industry. That's going really well. I've been there now for about 3 months, and I'm working on 3 Netflix series, 1 BBC series, and a feature-length movie.
Wow. So this is like ultimately the dream job for you, isn't it? I know, because I know how much you love like doing all your extra work, and you're a big fan of movies in general. And obviously I know that you can't talk a lot more about it than what you've just said, which I appreciate. But mate,
unfortunately not.
Oh no, I appreciate that. But
I would love to. Well, obviously, when things do come out, and if we do hook up again on this, it would be great to talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. But no, it sounds like you're having a great time there, mate. The other thing I was going to say, you did some film extra work a little while ago now. Was it for the White House Down franchise, wasn't it? I think it was the latest instalment.
Oh, Angel Has Fallen. Yeah, I did that. I actually did that in 2018, I think it was.
I know. I mean, how things have, with the way the world is and everything, isn't it?
It's mad, isn't it?
I remember you posting it on Facebook or something, and
it was a very menial part. It's a very, very small part, but I was in there. I was a policeman in America, inverted commas, in America, but filming in the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm in this police car, and we're skidded to a hole, and there's a truck in front. The trunk goes on its side, and what's his name? The lead, Gerald Butler, jumps out of the truck and runs off into the forest, and I run after him with a torch and a gun, my police outfit.
You know what? That sounds like a cool part as an extra. Do you know what I mean?
It doesn't get better than that as an extra. Mind you, no, it does actually, because recently I did a new series called. It's got Olivia Colman as the lead.
Oh yeah.
And David Thewlis. They both play the leads in this series. I'm sure if you Google it, you better find it. But I play a detective, and it's a feature detective. So when you watch it, hopefully you'll see a lot of me in this particular one.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you obviously get some like speaking parts in that as well, then, do you?
Not so much speaking parts as such. Obviously, you're in the background and you're interacting with the main cast.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant, and you get to see, Olivia Colman delivers some of the most like amazing lines. Like, she's got Oscars, and you can see why she's got Academy Awards and all that jazz. It's just amazing. But yeah, it's just good, like rubbing shoulders with these guys and sort of learning from them, watching them, and it's just adds to the whole experience of being an extra, or a supporting artist, as they like to be called in the industry.
So please tell me you're wearing a trench coat, Mark, as this detective.
Yes, I am actually wearing a trench coat. I'll send you a picture later. I'm
so
wearing a
glad
trench
you
coat.
said that,
I've got
mate.
a suit. I've got a suit on. I've got a goatee.
Have you?
I'm barely recognisable, to be honest.
Right. Oh no, that's the image. That's the first image I got in my head there when you said that. So I'm glad. Oh man, that's all good stuff, man. So let's talk about this movie then, mate. What we'll do is we'll play a trailer, and we'll see you guys soon. We'll be back soon.
If you can't see value here today, you're not up here shopping, you're up here shoplifting.
Bacon.
Did you say £10? That's a bargain, I'll take one.
Eddie.
You two, join me in my office.
Fat Man.
Oi!
Soap. 4 friends
That's my 25 grand.
with a money-making scheme
You sure you can afford 25? I can afford it as long as I see it again.
that's quick,
You playing cards tonight, son? With Harry?
easy,
Oh, don't be silly, Dad.
and very expensive.
I'll see you. For $500,000? All right, don't panic. Boy,
Then your father will. I've got a plan. How heavy are these fellas?
we'll hit them as soon as they come back. We'll be prepared, waiting.
We're on.
Right, where was we?
Guns for show. Nice for a pro. Well, God knows how much of this stinking weed.
Is this a declaration of war?
A shitload of cash.
All one's responsible for this torture.
And a traffic warden. I hate traffic wardens.
And welcome back, guys. So the synopsis of this film is Eddie persuades his 3 pals to pool money for a vital poker game against the powerful local mobster, Hatchet Harry. Eddie loses, after which Harry gives him a week to pay back £500,000. It's got 147-minute runtime, or depending which one you watch, because there's an uncut version of this. It's got a very good 8.2 on IMDb, which is very well deserved. And it was made for $1 million, so it's quite a small amount of money, really, in today's standards. And it took a whopping $28 million at the box office. So, Mark Lockstock, when did you first watch this movie? Let's start with that.
I first saw this movie at the cinema.
Yeah.
Obviously, way before like Netflix or anything was even around. Like back in like '98, went to pictures to watch it. I think I was like 17, 18, and literally just like became one of the most quotable movies of all time.
Absolutely. It's I think it's one of those films. Well, when I was re-watching this, I've seen it a number of times, but I'd watched it again for the show, and I just thought that at the time this was quite groundbreaking in cinema, because there's a lot of films that come out now and generally use the term, it's like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. But before this came out, I was trying to think of another film that was like this, and of course you've got films like The Long Good Friday.
Yeah.
Which
Bob Hoskins.
With Bob Hoskins. And then I was thinking you've obviously got like ties with the old, say like films like The Italian Job. You know,
Italian Job. That is a great comparison. Definitely.
And I'm sure Guy Ritchie's looked at those films, and obviously I think he's sort of similar age to us. He's grown up in that sort of period, and he's put this film together. And I just think that it's just a great, to our American listeners, I think this film is just a really good example of how we are, as be it what it's like to be English or Cockney or live in London, isn't it? And I think I think Guy Ritchie said that he's basically based a lot of these characters on people that he knows and conversations that he's listened to down the pub, or if you go down to like a boxing club or anywhere like that, you're going to meet these characters, aren't you?
I think a lot of the characters in this movie, like America, I think like the American audience would watch this film and be like, okay, that's the stereotypical British Cockney bloke. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But like I say, he's got it down to a T, and I think that's what I find hilarious about this film is that when you watch it, and particularly when you watch it with friends, and I think that's the best way to watch it. We're always saying, "Oh, that's what's the name, innit? And that's such and such, and oh, that'd be you, wouldn't it?" Do you know what I mean? That's the sort of thing that you'd come out and say, and then of course it's gone on to create other movies such as Snatch, which came out, which is another fine movie. Then you got Rock and Roller and Layer Cake and The Gentleman. And then
didn't think too much of Rock and Roller, to be honest.
Yeah.
Bit of an odd one, that one.
I think first time I watched it, the problem is I think I was trying to compare it to Lock, Stock, but it's a different movie.
Yeah, totally. But you can tell, you can definitely make comparisons to Lock, Stock. Obviously, London, like Cockney Underground. You've got the same kind of like title, not the title, but you know the poster. It's kind of like in the same kind of ilk.
Yeah, it's got the same sort of aesthetic to it, isn't it? It's like it's like Guy Ritchie's got this signature, isn't he?
Yes.
And obviously his producer Matthew Vaughn, who went on to go and do Layer Cake.
That is a good film. If anyone hasn't seen that yet, go and watch Layer Cake. Daniel Craig's in that. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough with Layer Cake, when I first watched it, I didn't enjoy it as much.
No?
But the thing with that, I gave it some time, and then I thought, actually, no, this is actually a really good film. It's a very clever movie, and it has got those Lock, Stock type scenes in it. You know, it's especially when they meet up in the when they're having breakfast, and bloke just goes into like a bit of a rage, and scenes like that. And then the other thing about this movie is I think it did actually reach out to the American audience as well, because then obviously Americans come into Snatch as actors, and then there's another film called, is it Lucky Number 11 with Bruce Willis. So it's almost like they sort of took a little bit of a take onto that.
That was an unrelated. What's the word? That was a gem. That was. I think underrated.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people underrated Lucky Number 11.
So it's almost like you could see that it was just sort of hitting the American audience as well. So yeah, I think Lock, Stock, it was a little bit of a groundbreaking movie at the time.
Well, it's Guy Ritchie's debut movie, and it was released. I think it was officially released in August in '98, which means it's 23 years old this month.
I know, that's crazy, isn't it? I can't believe
Isn't that mad?
Yeah. And then it obviously started a lot of people's careers as well, didn't it? Including Jason Statham, who's become, big A-lister now, isn't he? Doing all the action movies and that.
Absolutely. Like Jason Statham, he was a diver before, Olympic diver before he got into film. He was I don't know if you've ever seen Erasure videos, like the band Erasure.
Yeah.
Before he got into acting, he was a dancer in the videos for Erasure.
Oh, was he? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, if you type in Jason Statham Erasure on YouTube, you'll see him with no top on doing a little dance.
Right, okay.
Yeah, in a really campy outfit.
Oh,
someone said to Jason Statham in an interview once, he said, so talk to us about the Erasure videos. And Jason Statham's response was, I was young and I needed the money. And just left it at that.
Well, find ourselves in those positions at times, you know what I mean? You've got to take it, haven't you? So.
Exactly.
And then you've also got Dexter Fletcher in this, who I remember from every time I see him, Press Game, and obviously Bugsy Malone as Babyface.
Yeah, like it's crazy. I saw that the other day. I introduced my wife to Bugsy Malone movie not so long ago, and you see him as one of the little gang lads. And you look at his face and you're like, my God, that is so Dexter Fletcher. And that was in like 1978, I think it was.
Yeah, it might have been. I think it might.
Young Jodie Foster.
Yeah,
Young
remember
Jodie Foster in that film as well.
Yeah, he only had a small part in that, didn't he? But it's almost like he stole the show. In Bugsy
Yeah.
Malone, do you know what I mean? Because I remember when I was watching it as a kid, I just thought seem to remember Babyface. You know, give this a babyface, give this a babyface. Hang
Give
on,
this
I
a
am
babyface.
Babyface. But as he's grown up, and it's like he just doesn't change. You know what I mean? He's like got the same sort of wit and character.
Yeah.
But I've actually met him as well.
Have you?
Yeah, I just met
Amazing.
him up in London, just in passing. He's a really nice bloke as well. I've met a couple of these. Sean Pertwee I met as well. He's a similar sort of, you know, spoke to him about Dog Soldiers, and he's really down to earth. Do you know what I mean? He's happy to talk about his work and stuff like that. So
He does come across as quite a nice guy. Mr. Pertwee. I'd like to meet him. I think he's done some bloody good movies. Also, he's done some tosh, but you know, hasn't everyone?
Yeah, I mean, he did another film that's probably worth shouting out here, which I thought was kind of like a sort of Lock-Stocky type movie, was the 51st State.
Yes. Samuel Jackson
and Robert Carlyle, and
Carlyle.
Sean Pertwee plays a
nice.
police officer in that, and it's just hilarious.
Do you know, I've only ever seen that once. I went to the pictures to see that, and I do remember a scene where there's just like lots of blood.
Yeah.
And there's a football ground, and there's lots of blood in a room. Someone just explodes, right? Is that right? Is that the same film?
Yes, it is. It's a little bit of a spoiler here. It's by the end of the movie, because
Right.
Samuel Jackson is he's like a biologist, isn't he? Is that right?
Mm.
Works in chemistry and stuff like that. And he creates something to blow up the bad guys, so when they take it, it makes them explode. And I think it's something like that happens in the end.
I need to watch this movie again.
It's good. I might even review it for the show, actually, because I need to talk about that one.
I'm going to write that one down.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's got Meatloaf in it.
Oh, brilliant.
He plays a
Out
character.
of hell.
Yeah, he plays a character called the Lizard.
You know it quite well. I need to reacquaint myself
Oh,
with
mate,
that movie again.
I've seen that movie many a time. And then, of course, you've got some. It's got some other names in it, such as Vinnie Jones.
Yeah, Vinnie Jones. Like for me, I was really into football.
Wimbledon.
Like in the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s and 90s, I was a Chelsea supporter. So when Vinnie Jones finally came to Chelsea in 91,
yeah,
it was just insane. It was just, I'd never thought Chelsea would sign Vinnie Jones, but yeah, Chelsea signed him again and linked up with his midfield FA Cup winner from 1988 against Liverpool, Dennis Wise.
Yeah, that's right.
I was really pleased when he joined Chelsea.
What were they called? The Wimbledon squad. They had a name, didn't they?
The Crazy Gang.
The Crazy Gang, wasn't it?
The Crazy Gang, yeah. Laurie Sanchez, Dennis Wise, Dave Besant, I think John Fashanu, Vinnie Jones. Oh man, there's some good names there.
It was a golden
Robbie
age.
Earl.
It was a golden age of football, wasn't it? I mean,
It was.
I just.
I mean, especially when you got a team like Wimbledon, who were the underdogs, massive underdogs, because Liverpool were I think they were winning the league that year in '88, and John Aldridge missed a penalty in the game. John Barnes was playing, Kenny Dalglish was playing, Ian Rush was playing.
Wow.
Gosh, Bruce Grobbelaar in goal, and Vinnie Jones's Crazy Gang just turned up on the day, snuffed them out, got the win, lifted the cup. Just fairy tale stuff.
It's almost the way where we're having this conversation about that event back in the 80s with those football players, and it seems like a golden age. So I remember it, because I was in sort of middle school back then when we were talking about it. It's almost like a sort of Guy Ritchie movie in the making, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
That could be, absolutely, 100%.
Especially where I think there'd be a big market out there for people who love football as well. To have that sort
definitely.
of, especially where it's got the Vinnie Jones. And Vinnie Jones, he was just the hard man of football, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that famous picture of him grabbing Paul Gascoigne's nuts, isn't there?
That's a cracking picture.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, when I watched this film, I remember seeing the poster, I thought, bloody hell, that's Vinnie Jones. And it was like, oh my God, Vinnie Jones is acting. And what's that going to be like? And it turned out great. It just, what he does in this film is just excellent. You know, he's a proper anchor for what all the other carnage that's going on. I mean, especially
he's just got that hard man look demeanour.
Yeah.
And you can't teach that. You can't teach someone to look like that. He is just the epitome of a Cockney gangster.
Yeah. And
in the East End.
But he's a hard man, especially in this. But he's got a little bit of sympathy about him as well, if you know what I mean, which makes him human. Like he's got his son with him. He's got his son with him, like in every scene. Yeah, which is really it's almost sort of Mandalorian type, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? He's kind of like this hard man, but then he's got this little kid with him who will do anything to protect. And I think that's what I loved about this, because it's especially that scene where he goes to his son, is he in there, son? Yeah. He goes, let's go and pay him a visit, shall we?
Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. And then he walks up there, doesn't he? And then it's like, hello. And it's like, did I say speak? And he's like, and it's like, this is a lovely tan. I don't want to ruin it. It's like,
Cool, he's got a fucking skyrocket in it. Oi, watch your mouth.
Yeah, that's it. You start using those words, son, you wish you hadn't.
Some of the dialogue in this movie is so good.
Oh man, that's what I mean. There's just so many scenes like that in this, and
the opening scene for Lock, Stock. I mean, let's just go straight in there.
Yeah.
The opening scene for Lock, Stock. You know, you've just got this amazing soundtrack. By the way, the soundtrack is just immense on this film.
It's like a Britpop, isn't it? Britpop type music, a little bit of rock in there.
You got drum and bass as well. There's a tune by Easy Rollers, "Walk This Land." Now, I remember going to like parties, like college parties and like house parties, and "Walk This Land" by Easy Rollers used to just play at these parties, and everyone would just go off. The party would just go off.
Yeah,
it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I've actually got the soundtrack. I think it's on CD.
Mm-hmm.
May have even been on cassette back at the time from my car, and it was all those songs that we were listening to, wasn't it, in the 90s, like you just said. But yeah, it's like I say, going back to the start of this movie though, isn't it? I think there's an uncut version, and then because you've got Eddie, haven't you, explaining how to play poker, isn't he? And he said there's a way that you can do it, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Which is very gritty. And it just sets this movie up great, doesn't it? It's sort of what you're going to the eventual outcome of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it goes straight in there, doesn't it? And like I say, basically you've got it's basically the story of like 4 or 5 different gangs, isn't it? That's all rolled into one.
Yeah, you've got it's like they're all kind of like headhunting each other, but not intentionally.
Yeah. You've got our main characters in. What I do like about this is that it's kind of got like what I noticed about this film is it doesn't. I think this film ages well because it doesn't set itself in a particular time. Because you don't really see anybody else apart from your main characters. So,
yeah, that's right.
So when you're in the street, you don't see other members of the public. You might just see the guys sat outside the taxi.
Oh, the taxi rank, yeah.
Rank.
The taxi office.
You may see 1 or 2 other people in the bars.
Mm-hmm.
But the look about it is almost like it's got like a little bit of a 70s or 60s or 70s look with the way they're dressing. And this is obviously made in the 90s, but the cars they're driving are from the 80s or the 70s, like the old Ford Cortina and that.
Yeah, so you've got the Ford Cortina. I pointed this out. Yeah, when I watched it, you've got Ford Cortina, you've got Granada Estate, you've got a Renault Traffic Master with the high roof. You've got
the Ford I think you've got the Ford RS Turbo that's driven by Was it Kenny? The two Scouser robbing guys, isn't it? You know, like bank robbers or whatever.
Oh, what are they called? Phil and
No, Gary, not Kenny. Gary and Dean, isn't it?
Gary and Dean. That's it. Gary and Dean.
Gary. Are you all right?
Oh, he gets his hair shot out.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
You got to put that on. I'm not putting that on. I've just had paid about £500 for my hair.
That's great. And then you got Lenny McLean going, is his hair supposed to look like that?
Now, Lenny McLean, that guy plays a hard man, like to a T.
Oh yeah.
That's just his natural demeanour as well.
I mean, it's not like you've got it's almost like Guy Ritchie has just said play yourself, because there's a show on Netflix or like a documentary, and that's worth checking out if you haven't seen it. Basically his life story, isn't it? He was like I think he was an unlicensed boxer.
Yeah, I read his autobiography.
He was an archetypical hard man, but then when it came to his family, that's probably where he had his softer side when it came to family and stuff like that. But yeah, he's very stand out in this. But it's like
one thing about Lenny McLean, which I read about in the book I read about him. The book was called The Governor.
Yeah.
Because that's how he was known. He was just called The Governor. People just knew him as Lenny McLean, the Governor in the East End of London. And there's one story in there where people, like different gangs from different countries, like America, Brazil, Europe, would bring their hardest man over to the UK to fight Lenny McLean in an unlicensed boxing match. And they just couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
And then one American gang, I think it was like a mafia gang, said, look, bring your guy over here to America to fight our best guy. Now, Lenny McLean explains it, in detail in the book, where they fly in, they go into this this unlicensed place, boxing ring and everything, loads of people in the crowd. He turns up and sees him for the first time, and Lenny McLean's looking at this bloke. He's a big black fella, he's about 7 foot tall, and his hands are the size of shovels. Right. And Lenny McLean's looked at him and was like, I don't know, fucking I'm going to put him on his arse, but I'm going to have to do my best. Yeah. And he did it. Right. He did it. He beat the best man in America. The boys, his gang, obviously took all the money that they won back to the UK, and he retired as an unlicensed boxing fighter, undefeated.
And like I say, he fits this movie perfect, didn't he? And unfortunately, he passed away, didn't he? Before he even got to see the premiere.
Yeah, he did.
But it's left a legacy for him, because when I think of him, like say the Governor or Lenny McLean, I think of this movie. And again, the other thing I like about this film is there isn't just one standout performance. I think all the actors have a standout performance. It's quite unusual for a movie to actually have that sort of balance, where everybody does a really good job and everybody has their own moment of like screen time, which is very quotable and very, very memorable. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah,
for me, it's like Lenny McLean. It's like when we're getting to Hatchet Harry. I haven't mentioned him yet. Hatchet Harry goes, so what are these guys like? And then he's like, they're a fucking liability. You know what I mean? Like fucking brothers.
Fucking liability.
It's like, and then when he's talking to like Gary and Dean, because he's talking to him in a strip club, and he goes,
yeah,
I want you to get some guns. And then it's like Gary goes, what like guns at 5 shot? He goes, oh, you must be the fucking brains in. Yeah, I mean, and then when he sees them later on, and they've gone into this old house, haven't they? And they've said, oh well, there's nothing in there because these people are poor because they've only got like old shit. And he said, but we got rid of those old guns. He goes, what do you mean? Like that. And he goes, if you don't want to be dancing with the Antichrist, with it, and all this.
There's some really, really good quotes in here. One of my favourites is by Bacon Statham, where he says, Harry didn't think he did a very good job. So he grabbed the nearest thing to hand, which just so happened to be a 15-inch black rubber cock, and then proceeded to beat old Paul Smithy to death.
Oh, dude.
That was not a nice way to go now. That's why you pay actually Harry when you owe.
Yeah, if you owe him, he's a bloke you pay, isn't it? And then
Yes,
you've got,
that's it.
and then there's that great scene at the beginning where you've got Jason Fleming and he's Tom, his character name, and he's talking to Nick the Greek.
Yeah.
And he's like, he says, no, I've told you once before, it's £100, you know what I mean? And he says to him, no, it doesn't have a speaker, and it doesn't have an amp. He's just like, and then he's like, he just comes out and goes, it's a deal, it's a steal, it's a deal with a fucking century. In fact, Nick, I think I'll fucking keep it.
You could choke a dozen monkeys on that.
Yeah, that's it.
You're ragging over £100. What do you do when you're not buying stereos, Nick? Finance revolutions.
And he goes, £100 is still £100.
Yeah.
No
he
one
pulls
is.
out that massive wad of cash and he's like, have you got to change?
Yeah, that's it. And then you've got Alan Ford, who some people he's probably more famous for playing Bricktop in Snatch, and he does.
Oh, he narrates this, doesn't
He narrates it, doesn't he? And he's narrating it. He goes, "Now Tom has got he's got all fingers in a few pies, but Nick's got all fingers and all toes and everything in there." And he says, between them, there ain't much you can't get hold of. It's like, oh dear. And there's some really nice shots in here as well, where it goes from scene to scene where they go into like a cooker, they open up the hatch and then they close it, and then you've got Dexter Fletcher's character Soap, who opens up like a pot, isn't it? And you see him put some carrots in.
Yeah.
And they're saying the reason why they call him Soap is because he tries to run an honest business, doesn't he, and being a chef and all that. And,
Likes to keep his hands clean.
yeah, that's it. And then he goes to him, "You got that 25 grand?" And he says, "Yeah." And he says, "You're right with that?" He goes, "Well, it depends the way you look at it." He says, "It's all right if I get it back."
Yeah. Soap's a good character. He's got some good lines in the film.
Yeah.
One of the best ones he says is, "Guns for show, knives for a pro."
Oh yeah.
And you're not funny. You're not funny, Tom. You're fat and look as though you should be.
Oh yeah, that's
but you're
right.
not.
Yeah, that's it. He goes, "Who's this fat man then?" Isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then Jason Statham comes in, doesn't he? He's obviously bacon, and then Soap says, "Do you want a sandwich, bacon?" Oh dear. And then you're introduced to like basically the stoners in this, haven't you? Who were kind of like the
Cheer the wind star.
yeah, that's it. He goes, going out and getting a bag of fertiliser? He goes, "Yeah, you don't look like you're fucking horticulturist, do you?"
Yeah, walking around at midnight with a fertiliser and a half-dead girl.
Yeah, that's it, like I say. And there's one guy in that who's walking through and he says, we could be like sort of scientists and all that. He's smoking a joint and that. And he's actually, I don't know if you remember it, there's a film called Young Sherlock Holmes in the 80s. And he actually
it rings a bell.
He actually played Sherlock Holmes. So it's just something I noticed when I was watching this. So. But no,
Talking of Sherlock Holmes, Guy Ritchie directed Sherlock Holmes. Can you believe that?
Well, this is it. That's why I thought, he's got someone who played Sherlock Holmes, and then he goes on to go and direct that with Robert Downey Jr. Doesn't he? He does a great job with that, actually.
Oh, he does actually. I saw that quite recently for the first time. I really enjoyed it.
I think there's a third one coming out as well, isn't there? I think.
Cool. That'd be good. That'd be good to see.
So yeah, you got.
So Guy Ritchie then also directed the new real action Disney Aladdin.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? I did not expect him to do that.
No, I haven't seen it yet. I've just seen trailers, but I'm a bit put off because I quite like the original Aladdin.
Right, yeah,
okay. Been ruined.
Well, apparently Guy Ritchie, just going on him as a director, he'd actually been offered movies like that after this.
Right.
But he actually said he didn't want to do something with a big budget because he said it terrified him. So he said it
bombed.
Yeah, exactly. So he said he'd rather do something like he did this for $1 million, which did really well, and then I think he did Snatch for about 10 million. But the American audience or the American or Hollywood or whatever noticed this film and thought, oh, Guy Ritchie. And I think they offered him a lot of money to go and make films like that, but he said, no, I'm going to stick to just working my way up the ladder.
Yeah, but I also think marrying Madonna really raised his profile as well.
Oh, that's right, yeah, that's it.
Marrying Maradona.
Maradona! Oh, God.
Marrying Maradona. Marrying Madonna. Oh my God, I've just had a stroke, I swear. Marrying Madonna increased his profile, definitely, and made him more of a household name, I guess, in the States.
Yeah. And the thing is with Guy Ritchie, I saw an interview with him, and he's a really down-to-earth bloke who also suffers with severe dyslexia as well.
No way.
Yeah, which I was really surprised. So he had this idea, but he said he really struggled to try and get it down on paper. So he was literally making notes and then giving it to a screenwriter to kind of polish up. But it's like he's got the idea there in his head, but he does struggle to try and, sort of write and stuff like that, which is very interesting, but very sort of it's a good thing to hear as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. He's great. He's great at putting films together. It's crazy. Like you can be just bad at one thing, but absolutely exceptional at another thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's kind of what I like. It's like especially with today's the way things are. Putting it out to people. If you do suffer with that, don't let it put you off trying to create something. So he's quite a good ambassador for that, I think. Guy Ritchie,
absolutely.
Like.
And if you think back in the, late 90s, like before, things like that weren't really diagnosed as such.
No.
To try and sort of like not really get much support because he's dyslexic. He's managed to create absolute like cinematic masterpieces.
Yeah.
But he must have had like quite a troubling time going through all the growing up, getting to where he is, going through the industry, and getting to where he is. So fair play to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that I suffered with myself personally. And I kind of know what that felt like because everybody else was like writing, especially when you're at school, everybody else is doing really well and you're thinking, oh shit, why am I not doing that? So I think it's a great bridge for people who do suffer to say, look, don't let it put you off doing stuff that's creative because you've probably got it, you just can't get it out the way other people can, but you will do. So yeah, it's that's quite a breakthrough for him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so
and I like what you said about being an ambassador. I think that's a perfect way to sum it up.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's. I think more people need to know about that from him if they don't know that. He actually had a pub.
Yeah.
He's got a pub in London as well, in Mayfair.
It's not the lock stock that you sent me the other day. That picture.
No. That's funny. That was in Newbury.
Was it? Okay.
Yes. It was a lovely pub right by the river. Just stumbled upon it. Me and Becky did, and I looked at it. I thought, I can't believe that. It's fucking Lockstock.
It's a great name for a pub.
It is, yeah. Lockstock, the fucking lot. Talking about the pub, you also got Sting in this film as well.
Yes, of course. His JD. His name's JD.
Yeah, and I suppose for him as well, thinking about it, you had Quadrophenia, which he was in, so that's another film that's kind of, I would say, has influenced this, certainly with like British filmmaking and that sort of aesthetic. Yeah.
Wasn't Sting in June?
He was, yeah. Yeah, he was in June. He played one of the... It was like a mercenary or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was in that. So it's good to see him in this.
My brother-in-law brought me the Dune book. It's so thick, I haven't started it yet. But I remember we were reminiscing about the original film, Dune. And my brother-in-law had read the book Dune like 3 times because he loved it that much. And if you look at the size of this book, you'd probably look at it and be like, oh no thanks, don't fancy that because it's a bit too thick.
Yeah.
And we started talking about it because the new Dune film that's going to be coming out quite soon. We started chatting about it, and I said I'd never read the book, and he sent me the book. So I've got the Dune book to read, just haven't read it yet. But I love the movie with Sting in it.
Yeah, it's actually a very well put together movie, isn't it? And I think it might have just got clouded over by Star Wars at the time, because
when was it released? Any idea?
1981, 1982. I think. It's probably people shouting at me now. Oh, Jay, come on, crying out loud. Do a fucking movie podcast. Come on, get your fucking shit together.
1984, I've just looked up.
Ricky Morgan's probably shouting at me now.
1984.
1984, right, okay. So you imagine that.
Directed by David Lynch.
So, you had Return of the Jedi floating around that time, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I think Dune is a different type of movie, isn't it, altogether? Very dark, very gritty.
Yeah. Big movie for the time.
Big movie, yeah. But I think it's going to I think it's going to have another resurgence with this new film that's coming out, which looks incredible.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer the other day.
The trailer looks epic. It's going to reach out to a whole new different, people will just appreciate this, and they'll get a brand new resurgence from this movie.
Yeah, because I was talking to someone the other day, and I was thinking we've just had the Marvel franchise in the last sort of 10 years, haven't we, leading up to Endgame and Infinity War. But at the moment, Marvel's still out there, but I think something like Dune could be the next sort of trilogy, or possibly, if it does well, do you know what I mean? When I watched that trailer, I thought, this might just be the next thing, you know what I mean? So
it's crazy to think that the Dune the book was actually published in 1965.
Oh, was it really?
That was before we even went to the moon, allegedly.
Wow.
But that's before we went up into space to the moon. Well, 1965.
Some imaginations out there, isn't there? I remember because in the 80s, you probably remember this, used to have the coffee table sci-fi books, and they used to have all the weird and wonderful sci-fi art and pictures and other worlds. And there were some pictures in there of Dune with the sandworms coming out.
Yeah.
That, just took you to another place, when you looked at these pictures. But yeah, there we go. We've gone from lock, stock to Dune to another world.
Yeah, Jesus, how does that happen?
We've gone from Borough Market to some other universe.
We've gone from Bethnal Green to
Bethnal Green. Yeah.
To deep space in what's the year? I think the year was 10,191.
Oh dear. So going back to the film, you've then got the character Dog, and he's Motley Crue, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a tough looking bloke. He looks like the archetypical gangster.
Yeah. He is the sort of bloke that you don't want to fuck with, isn't he? Predominantly. And there are characters like him out there. And then that's why this film is just so believable, because it's contemporary in its own right. Yeah. There are characters like that out there, and I'm not saying, this is kind of what I was going back to earlier. Like if you go into a pub in London,
yeah,
probably like what you just said, probably sort of Bethnal Green, places like that, some old sort of pubs that have been there for years. Stepney Green. There's a good chance that you're going to see someone at the bar that's talking like him,
yeah,
smoking 100%. Away on a cigarette. And then you've got the character in this plank, haven't you? You know, it's like, you know, the way he's obviously got he goes and gets all his drugs and weed from the other group, and then he's explaining, no, they're just a bunch of you don't touch me, I don't touch you bollocks, you know, all this karma shit, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Oh dear. And then Dog's he's obviously trying to get that money, isn't he, from another game which isn't really related to this, but he's playing golf, isn't he, on someone he's just killed, isn't it?
Yes.
And
that's it. Yeah. he stands on his chest and teeing off out of his mouth.
yeah, that's it. And he goes, right, I'm going to give you one last chance. Where is it? And he goes, it's in the fireplace, just under the grill. Pull it out. And then Dog goes, it's in the fireplace, Plank. Just pull it out. It's under the grill.
Is that the bloke with the long hair with the squeaky voice?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
It's in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Go there, pull it out.
Fucking hell, Dog. There's a ton in here.
Fucking hell, dog. It's a ton in here. Oh, that bloke's voice is brilliant.
Yeah, that's it. And then they have a funny scene later on, don't they? When I'm sort of jumping forward here, but I'm more to the listeners out there. I'm jumping back and forwards here, but we will get to every bit. There's that classic bit. Now, a lot of people mention this when they go to take out the stoners, don't they? And they go into that cage, and Plank, it all goes wrong, doesn't it? He tries to open it up, and he drops the keys out of his hands, and then they start getting shot, don't they? He goes, Never Blake goes, Charles, I think we're getting fucked. Pull out, what was it? Like a fucking pea shooter, isn't it?
Oh, they've got 2-2 air rifle.
Air rifle, that's it. And
Shoots him in the neck. He's like, I've just been shot. I don't fucking believe this. Will everyone stop getting shot?
Yeah, that's it. And then one of the characters called Mickey, isn't it? He's got his ear defenders and he pulls out a Bren gun, doesn't he? Fucking just shoots everywhere.
That thing does some damage.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, if you shoot that in a warehouse in London, people are going to hear it, I'm pretty sure, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Plank, that's his name. The guy with the squeaky voice, his name's Plank.
Yeah, that's it, Plank, yeah, that's it.
And when he gets hit in the neck with the 2-2 rifle, he's like, oh, they just fucking shot me. And
Yeah,
the dog's
that's
like,
it.
well, fucking shoot him back.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody stop getting shot.
That got made into
dear.
a tune. That sample got made into a garage track.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was I think it was made by Decline.
Right.
Some Decline. Yeah, they lifted the would everyone stop getting shot?
I think I remember that actually. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that rolling around, wasn't it? Have you got quotes?
Yeah, Garage
Garage
Scene took a lot of quotes from different films. But yeah, I always remember that one. I think his name was Decline. Ed Solo, maybe Decline. I can't remember.
Right.
But yeah, that sample was brilliant. It turned to like a real bassy garage track.
And then you've got Rory Breaker as well, haven't you? And his game, which is, you know, when he meets Nick the Greek, isn't it? He goes, if the milk turns out to be sour, I ain't a sore pussy to drink it. You understand? Oh.
And Rory Breaker's a funny character in this.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's actually the other movie that I saw him in is a little bit of an underrated horror movie from the early 2000s called Creep.
Was that the one based in the London Underground?
Yeah, he plays like an underground worker in it, but he's the only other film I've seen him in.
I enjoyed that film.
I think it's a good film. I think it's very underrated, actually.
Me too.
Especially in that time of the 2000s where there wasn't really a whole lot of horror kicking around. I didn't think you had films like Wrong Turn and that, Dog Soldiers, but yeah.
And Scream.
Scream
3 or 4.
Scream, yeah. I think that was
Maybe.
sort of mid-90s, wasn't it, when that came out? Jesus.
I think Scream was mid-90s, yeah, but I think you got the follow-ups. I think some of them, like Scream 2, 3, 4, they may have been 2000s.
Yeah,
if my memory serves me right.
I think that helped reignite horror, didn't it? I mean...
Yeah, Wes Craven. Wes Craven.
Compared to
Wes Craven's, yeah.
Compared to what we have now, isn't it? It's just gone through the roof, isn't it? I think.
I watched a good horror film recently.
Oh, what was that?
I watched a film called Run.
Run?
Yeah, Run with Sarah Paulson. It's on Netflix.
Oh, what's the synopsis on that?
It's about this mother who loses a baby, and she loses the baby, so she is so twisted and bitter about losing the baby. She goes to the newborn area and steals one, and she's just hell bent on just looking after the child and keeping the child at home and educating the child at home. That she basically lies to the child by saying about university, admissions to university. She applies for the university. She like hides all the letters from the child to keep her indoors. She feeds the child like dog painkillers, dog tablets to lose the use of her legs.
Jeez.
And so she's basically caught up at home. It's basically present day Misery.
Oh, right, okay, right. When you
Yeah.
mention it like that, okay, right. So
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
it's like a sort of psychological.
Very
drama.
very psychological, but also very physical as well, man. It's Sarah Paulson is just demented in it. I love her. She's brilliant.
Right, okay.
One to watch.
Yeah, I'll have a look out for that. Was it on Netflix? Is it?
Netflix, yeah.
Right. The other one I watched the other day, not horror, but I really enjoyed it. Was Nobody. I think you've seen
Nobody?
it. Yeah, it's kind of like it's very much like John Wick. I think it was the same writer.
Mhm.
He had the actor out of Breaking Bad, Soul.
Okay, yeah, another guy.
But that was really, really good. That was a really good film. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, go check it out if you get a chance.
Yeah,
But
I
going back
will.
to Lock, Stock, I suppose you've got to mention what the main sort of plot of this film is. We mentioned it because it's so quotable. You go back and forth. So you've got Eddie who thinks he can play this poker game with Hatchet Harry, and it's obviously a very well known poker game within the sort of underworld. But
Yeah.
to actually go onto the table, we've got 100 grand, so that's where the four friends come in. They put the money together.
25 grand each.
Yeah, and he gets to the table. There's a little bit of a backstory, isn't there, with Eddie's dad, who's Sting, where you find out that he played with Hatchet Harry back in the day, and he took all his money because he won the game, which is mentioned by the Alan Ford. You know, he had free freeze. They're unbeatable cards. I've never seen them. You know, so he plays this game, and it's quite funny, isn't it? Because you've got some more characters now. It's in a boxing ring, which I love. I think it's just got that real sort of London gangster feel about it, this scene, you know. And
gritty.
Yeah. Did they teach you any other words at school apart from folk, isn't it? And it's like, you go, and the Hatchet goes, you want to fucking have a bit of chit chat, guys? Go down the fucking hairdressers, isn't it? And then, of course, you've got Lenny McLean, haven't you? He's watching on a bit of CCTV, and he's got that.
He's
and then,
spying on the cards.
oh, we'll take you to the cleaners.
We'll take you to the cleaners.
Eddie loses the game, and then that's what sparks off. He's got a week to pay Hatchet Harry £500,000.
Well, he in one of the hands, and the last hands he's in, he's got 100 grand. He goes all in. Harry goes all in because he's seen the cards.
Yeah.
And Eddie says he can't go any higher than 100 grand, and he wants to see Harry's cards. But Harry's like, you can't do that. You either fold, or I'll lend you the money. So he lends him the money. But not only does he lend him the money, he has to give him double the money to see his cards.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you met him on the bet, but you need to pay another £200,000 to see his cards,
Yeah.
which Eddie hasn't got, so he has to borrow even more money. So in the end, he goes there with 100 grand, comes out having to owe £500,000, £500,000, So now he's up to the eyeballs in debt with that Harry for $500,000. Over to you.
Yeah, and then there's even little bits on there, isn't it, where Eddie's like, unless you accept 10 quid, isn't it, or something like that. He goes, "Oh, still got a sense of humour then, son," isn't it, like that? Do you know what I mean? He's still got his little bit of core about him, isn't he, old Ed? But then obviously he comes out, doesn't he? There's another sort of indie pop track, isn't there, when he comes out, and he has to go and tell all the others that they're all part of having to owe the money as well.
Yeah.
Which now starts off this chain of events, and as it turns out, you've got all the other gangs that get involved now. As we've already mentioned, you've got the Stoners, you've got Dog and his gang, you've got Rory Breaker, and this is where Eddie works out that Dog's gang lives next door to him, doesn't he? And they're going to go and do a robbery, aren't they, on the Stoners, and get all this money, and then Eddie then steals the money from them, because he's saying that if we do that, they're not going to go to the police, are they, because they're criminals, and they're not going to be able to tell that story, which is very clever. And then this is where they say, "Oh, we need some guns," and this is where they go to Nick the Greek, isn't it? And he gets the old muskets. But the clever thing here is that they're looking for a sort of £500,000, but the actual guns that they purchased off Nick the Greek are worth that amount of money, aren't they? Which is the irony of this film. And it's
Totally.
And it's funny, isn't it, when Tom turns up with Nick the Greek and he says, "They look like a pair of old, like 600-year-old muskets," isn't it? He goes, "I want to look really mean," and then Nick the Greek's like going, "Yeah, you look really scary with them." But they do Dog over, don't they? They take all the money. Dog's trying to work out who's done it. And I think what's clever here is they Eddie and his gang, they dress up the same as Dog, don't they? So they put on the
same overcoats.
The overcoats. They kind of look. They're the same. They're the same in numbers, and they look. Each character looks a little bit the same as each other, and that's where the traffic warden comes in, isn't it? It's
played by Rob Brydon.
Yeah. And I suppose that's the clever thing, isn't it? Where he's when he gets taken out by Dog's gang, he can see him, can't he, with the overcoats? But then obviously when Eddie comes in, and I fucking hate traffic wardens, isn't it?
They duff him up in the back of the van. I fucking hate traffic wardens. Three of them all pile in.
But before that, it's like one of Dog's like gang members, isn't it? He's outside and he's putting all the weed in the back of the van, isn't it? And Rob Brydon's there, then he giving him a ticket, and he says to him, "Right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You come round here." And he goes, "First of all, I'm going to punch you, and then I'm going to put you in the back of the van." It's like... Oh dear. And then you've got Rory Breaker now, haven't you? Finds out that he's been done over, and you get this funny scene where he says to Nick the Greek, then he goes, "Nick, if I find out you're involved with this, I'm going to kill with you." He goes, "In fact, Nick, you're going to find it very hard to stay alive. Do you understand?" He goes, "Because if you don't, I'll kill you."
If you hold anything back, I'll kill you. If you bend the truth or think you're bending the truth, I'll kill you. If you forget anything, I'll kill you. In fact, you're going to have to work bloody very hard to stay alive. Nick, now do you understand everything I've just said? Because if you don't, I'll kill you."
So Nick obviously he folds now, doesn't he, Nick? Because he's obviously said it's Eddie and he's going, giving them the address, and then Dog knows that it's Ed as well, because he chucks plank through the wall, doesn't he? And then he sees all the recording equipment by bacon, isn't it? And he's listening to him.
Yeah, Dog's like, you ain't gonna fuck. You wanna? What does he say when he goes through the wall? It's like, you won't fucking believe what I'm looking at.
But then, Dog and his gang, Plank's like hiding underneath a bed, isn't he, with a shotgun, waiting for Eddie to turn up.
Yeah.
But then Rory Breaker turns up, and then like Plank's like looking, he's going, "What the fuck?"
What the fuck? Yeah.
And then you've got Gary and Dean, haven't you? They're obviously pissed off with Hatchet Harry, and they get a visit, don't they? I think by Vinnie Jones's character, don't they? So they sort of
Big Chris.
Yeah, they sort of take it upon themselves, don't they, to go and see Hatchet Harry. And he goes in, doesn't he? And was it Gary? Guns blazing, isn't it? And
yeah,
it's funny. And he shoots Hatchet Harry, and then he looks round and he sees
Barry the Baptist.
Yeah, and he goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And he shoots him. And he goes, "What the fuck are you doing here?"
What the fuck are you doing here? That's a good scene, though. That's such a good scene, though. Because you look at Hatchet Harry, he's got black dildos all around him. He's got all sex toy paraphernalia.
Yeah.
He's got when Hatchet Harry's got his feet up on the desk. I don't suppose you've seen it, but he's got like a little round gold sticker on the sole of his foot, and it's got. I think it says something like it's like pull out or something like that. Something fucking ridiculous. Something to do with some of the sexual novelty toys. He's obviously he's on a sticker, and it's like pull out game or pull out something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, it's like a sort of blink and you miss, but yeah, you're right. You see that
completely.
So you get Vinnie Jones turn up now, didn't you? He's got I think he turns up. He takes the money.
So Rory's dead. Rory's dead. Barry the Baptist is dead. Oh gosh, what's his name? Not Rory. Yeah, Rory Breaker's dead. Barry the Baptist is dead. Harry the Hatchet's dead. Chris walks in.
Oh, he takes the money off Dog, doesn't he? Because Dog jumps out, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
And
he got something for me.
Yeah, that's it. And he headbutts him, doesn't he? And
he nuts him to the ground.
He takes the money, takes the guns, goes up to see Hatchet Harry, and he's dead, and then he's obviously the money's left there, isn't it? And then that's when Eddie turns up with Tom now, isn't it? And they're like,
"That's right.
What the fuck, isn't it?" You know what I mean? They're looking around, isn't it? It's like everywhere they now go, there's carnage, isn't there? There's dead bodies.
Absolute carnage.
And they can't. That's what's clever about this, isn't it? They can't work out what's going on, can they? So
yeah, they've been out partying all night.
That's right. Yeah, that's quite a good scene, actually, isn't it? After the party, isn't it? So they take the money, don't they? And the guns, and he comes out, doesn't he? And they work it out between them. He says, "Well, Hatchet Harry's dead. The debt's cleared up. All the other guys are dead, and it's technically we haven't done anything wrong, isn't it? You know." And the only thing that's connecting us now is the guns, isn't it? And,
these guns.
Yeah. So they get Tom to go and discard them, don't they? And then they're down the pub, and
Big Chris walks in with a duffel bag, sticks it on the table.
Yeah, I like what he says, isn't it? He says to him, he goes, "Hatchet Harry underestimated you." But he says, I'm going to make this clear, isn't it? He goes, "I'll leave that there, and I'm not going to see you again." And then he says, "If you do, you better be waving a flag high and clear," isn't it?
Yeah.
And then he walks out, doesn't he? And he just comes out, and I think I quoted this loads, and I think this is where this phrase came from. He goes, "One more thing, it's been emotional." So,
that line has just gone down in like cinema history. It's like one of the most memorable lines from any film. Like that piece of dialogue, it's been emotional.
Yeah, it's in the bracket of Brody coming out and saying we're going to need a bigger boat, isn't it?
Or Michael Caine saying, "You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off."
Yeah,
it's up there.
You think
that piece of dialogue is up there.
You think how many actors would love to have a bit of dialogue like that for cinema history?
Oh,
but
man.
You've got Vinnie Jones turning up, who's
debut film,
debut movie. and he comes out of it, doesn't he? Just that one little line, isn't it? And it's great. He just pulls it straight in. And obviously they look in the book now, don't they? They see, was it Botherby's, the auctions, and it's like each of the guns worth between 250, 300 grand.
300k.
So with all this carnage and trying to work out how to pay this debt, they've had the money, well, they've had it there right in front of them, haven't they? Throughout. And this is where I thought the film kind of tied in with, say, like the Italian Job, because you've kind of got that final scene now, isn't it, where like Michael Caine and his crew with the gold hanging on the edge of a cliff. You've now got Tom, haven't you, hanging over a bridge with the guns, you know, is he going to take it? Yeah. And then that's where it ends, isn't it? And I think it's very clever how that ends, just on a bit of a cliffhanger.
It's so open-ended.
Yeah.
Did he save the guns? Did he drop the phone? Did he drop the phone and the guns? Did he answer the call? And did he get the guns? You know, it's so open to interpretation, and that's one of the things that Guy Ritchie did so bloody well in this movie.
Yeah. It's a good story, good characters. It's got some really good, like say Lenny McLean, Sting, Alan Ford,
Statham's debut.
Statham's debut. You've got a really good Britpop soundtrack. And as I mentioned before, it almost feels like it's set in another world. It's relatable, but I wouldn't, like I say, with the old cars and where it's set and what they're wearing. It's very slick.
I think he captured the East End of London, like, just so well.
Yeah.
Like, if you were going to be in that gangland world around mid-90s, early 90s, mid-90s, like, he has just captured that perfectly.
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, there's stuff that goes on in this movie that would have been going on, you know, and there would have been characters and gangs, and you would have had, I think Eddie and his mates was kind of what it was like to have mates in the 90s, you know, when you was going out and clubbing and all that sort of stuff, with their sort of dress and the camaraderie and the jokes they were having between them and that.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it's just a solid film, and then to have all that, and then just come to the end of this film, and then Guy Ritchie saying, "Let's leave this on a cliffhanger." So it just leaves the audience to have a little bit of debate at the end, and then forever quote this movie like we do today, you know. So it's a solid movie.
One thing I really enjoyed about this movie is the injection of humour that Guy Ritchie is renowned for. Just injecting that little bit of humour into like real serious characters.
Yeah,
I think he does that quite well.
Yeah, it's a good balance of humour, but you still feel like you've got the threat in this movie with the characters.
Yeah.
So you feel like the characters are at risk all the time.
Yeah.
Because they're way out of their depth, and the dog is a badass, and he's a bloke that you probably want to fuck with, same as Barry the Baptist.
Yeah.
But they've got their humour, and as I said before, they've got a bit of sympathy about them as well and stuff. I don't know, just sort of they're very human, feel very real. It's it's a good movie. One which I think when you get another film like this come out today, I think people are always going to sort of come out and say, "What was that film like?" And you go, "I was like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels." You know, it's the same as if a like a action adventure movie comes out. You might say, "Oh, it's like Indiana Jones." I think it's kind of got that sort of platform in cinema. And then of course you had after this, you had like Snatch that came out, which I thought was it's just as good. It's just as funny.
Snatch is great. I think Guy Ritchie took it, you know, that step further. He had the building block of Lock, Stock, knew what he could accomplish with that, and just built on every scene that he had in Lock, Stock and just turned it into Snatch. Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's so smooth. It's slick. It's gritty. It's hard hitting. Again, you've got that injection of black humour, but also keeping with the plot. Like say everyone is at risk. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah. No, I can't really fault it either. Really, there's nothing in it where I sort of go. There's no moments in the film where it's like bland or anything like that, and it runs at a really good pace. And also forgot to mention, there's the use of the Cockney language as well, isn't there? When he's down the pub and he's saying, talk about the skyrocket, and like the jam rolls, and they have to use like subtitles, don't they?
Yeah. Like from the beginning to the end, it's just a thrill ride.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally edge of your seat, literally all the way through. It's brilliant.
Yeah. That's like I say, there's all the other films like Snatch and The Gentleman. I think The Gentleman is his latest one.
I haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to that one.
I haven't seen it either, to be honest with you. I keep meaning to watch it, but
maybe we should review that next.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. So, so there you go, mate. Thanks for coming on to the show today, Mark.
No worries, mate. It's been a pleasure. It's always good to catch up with you. It's been such a long time since I've talked to you properly. I think last time was I popped round to your house.
Which, you know what? I had it flag up on my phone. It was actually to this time last year, to the very day.
No.
1st of August, mate. Yeah, that was it.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. The weather was a little bit better, mate, I think, because I think we were sat outside and having the barbie and that.
Yeah, that was a nice day, that was.
Sat there chilling in
my
cowboy
nice
hat. Oh dear. So cheers for coming on, mate. Like I say, I'm stoked to hear about your new job, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about next time you come on, once things start to come out and stuff like that. So
yeah, for sure. It's a shame I can't talk about them, to be honest, because there's so many amazing projects.
Honestly,
that
mate, I totally appreciate that, mate. So that's not a problem at all. All right, guys. Well,
there was one more thing before you go, mate. One more thing. I was. I don't know if you saw that thing I put on Facebook of me dressed as a chef.
Yeah, you played kitchen porter or something like that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was a kitchen porter in a movie that's coming out called Free Guard.
Right.
It's James Norton directed it, and he's a fantastic actor. If you've not seen any of his stuff, he was in Happy Valley series. He's in a film on Netflix at the moment called Things Seen and Heard. Yeah. Which is again horror film, good film, brilliant film. But yeah, I'm just in one scene with him. I'm just smoking a cigarette in a chef's pinny, and he walks past me, gives me a nod, and I nod at him back, and that's it. That is my little role in Free Guard.
Mate, when you showed me that picture, you did look the part. I could actually see you in a Guy Ritchie film as well.
I'd love to be in a Guy Ritchie.
I could see you in that. Sure. Do you know what I mean? Because as we said before, mate, it's a bit of the old staff about you, old Jason Statham.
Yeah, I've been told that a lot, which is it's great, but it's flattering. I mean, he's just a legend. Let's be honest.
He is. I think
he's had some bloody good parts.
He has. He's done really well. He's become a bit of an action. Well, he hasn't become a bit. He has become an action hero, hasn't he?
Like it or lump it, he has.
I mean, but I think what's good about Jason Statham is I don't think he goes out there to be anything that he isn't. He just, when you see his name now, you just think there's going to be an action film, and I think people are okay with that. He's having a good time. I think his breakthrough role was the Transporter. I think that really sort of took him up the level.
Yeah, that was a good film.
That
was a very good film, actually.
I think that's a Luc Besson movie. I'm sure it's the guy that directed Leon. It's got a French feel to it, hasn't it? Yeah, it certainly has. But yeah, that's good. But no, he is a legend. And like I say, I think all the other actors did quite well. I think Jason Fleming's done some great acting roles elsewhere, and Dexter Fletcher's become like a director-producer now, hasn't he? He directed Rocket Man. He was a producer for Bohemian Rhapsody.
Well, do you know the Bohemian Rhapsody? I think it was Bryan Singer directed Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
And he left the job with 2 weeks to go, and then Dexter Fletcher stood up and directed the last 2 weeks of filming.
Right. And then I think that's obviously what got him the job for Rocket Man, isn't it? And he also did Eddie the Eagle as well.
He did. That's a good film. That's a great film. Taron Egerton is just amazing as Eddie.
Yeah, he's doing really well as well, isn't he? You know, he's another sort of Guy Ritchie. Someone I could see him directing down the line. Do you know what I mean? He's got that sort of, especially where he did. What was that film? Kingsman, yeah, that was it. Yeah, he's great. Oh dear.
But it was Luc Besson actually wrote The Transporter.
I thought he did. Yeah, I thought it was a Luc Besson type movie.
2002, blimey.
Yeah, because he's done obviously Leon, Ronin, Nikita.
Good films, man.
He also did. From Paris with Love, which is a film which I think is kind of underrated. It's a good action movie.
From Paris with Love.
Yeah, it's got guy from Grease and Pulp Fiction. Oh, what's his name?
John Travolta?
John Travolta. Yeah, he plays like a CIA agent who's got like a rookie under his wing, and he has to fight terrorists in France. Did you ever see the film Taxi? No, I don't think I have.
French film.
Oh right, okay. No, I haven't seen that.
Oh mate, go and check that out. It's a French movie. It's English subtitles, but Luc Besson wrote that, and for me, it's probably one of my favourite car films of all time.
Oh right, okay. I'll have to check
It's
that out.
basically this taxi driver who drives a box, like a bog standard Peugeot 406, I think it is, the Peugeot 406, bright white.
Yeah.
And he's got like a turbo button, so he can like put it into like a turbo mode. So then all these bits on the it's just a Peugeot 406, and all these bits come out of the car, and he's got like a spoiler that comes up, and it just nitrous oxide.
Man,
check it out, man. Check it out.
Funny you say that, because that does take me back to the 90s of the times when we had the old XR2s and Peugeot 305s and whatever. And everybody was trying to sort of do stuff like that to their cars. If like get a big spoiler, get a subwoofer in the back, and get a satellite dish on top of the car.
Honestly, man, like this film, it's genius. It's all filmed in France. Luc Besson's just done a fantastic job on it, and I love the fact he's taken a '97 Peugeot 406 and equipped it with various racing modifications.
Yeah. And
which are concealed, and like I say, when he presses the button, all these modifications sort of come out, and then he just steams it around France.
Oh right, okay.
And there's other other vehicle collisions and other cars. So you've got like Mercedes, like red Mercedes Benz, like the 500Es, in some of the car chases. Some really epic car chases.
I must admit.
And the lead in this film, he's I can't think of his name. Sami Nasseri plays a guy called Daniel in it. He wears a Zinedine Zidane French World Cup winning shirt.
Oh right.
That is his outfit.
I'll have to check that out, because I do like a driving movie. I was particularly fond, talking about driving films, Drive with Ryan Gosling. Well, that was good.
I've not seen that one.
Have you not, mate? You need to go and check that out.
No.
Yeah,
I heard the soundtrack's pretty live.
Yeah, it's like a sort of new wave synth soundtrack.
Nice.
There's
right up my street then.
Right, I'll send it to you after this. It's a band called College, and it's called Real Hero. Play that in your car, mate. If you're, funny enough, I did it through lockdown because I was still having to drive into work, and I finished a night shift. Or no, I was going in for nights, and it was all dark in London. It was desolate. There was nothing else around.
Yeah.
And I felt like Will Smith out of I Am Legend, you know. I was driving the MR2 on the streets of London. There was no one else around, dark, and I was playing that song, and it was just amazing. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, this will never happen again because there was no one in London. I'm driving my car through it, and it's just crazy. So there you go. But I'll send you the song.
Do send me the song. I'll listen to that.
All right, mate. Okay, Mark. Well, listen, mate. It's been an absolute blast having you on the show. I couldn't think of anybody else better to have on here to talk about Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels.
Brilliant film. Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Nah, you're
RJ.
welcome, mate. Okay. All right, guys. Well, also, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We've got to wrap the show up now. And as always, a little bit of admin for the show. I'm a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network, so please go and check out all the other shows on there. Including my other podcast, which is the Mystery Vault podcast, where I talk about all things strange and unexplained and spooky. You can find the show on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube and several other players if you put in Bitesize Cinema Podcast. Got a Facebook page where I'm most active, so that's the best place to contact me. Let me know if there's any films you want me to review. And what's coming up next is going to be the Evil Dead 2, and I've got Mark Ball, who's a fellow podcaster, coming on to talk to me about that. And then there'll be a few other solo shows that I'll be producing as well, so look out for those. So there you go. As always, keep it bite-sized, keep it safe, and I'll see you soon.
I've got one more thing.
Go on.
It's been emotional.
It's been emotional, yes. Boom, there you go. That's what happened.
If you enjoyed this show, then make sure you check out the other great shows on the Legion Podcast Network, like Cinema Psyops, Cinema Beef, Devour the Podcast, Duncan and Bo Come Correct, Exploding Heads Horror Movie Podcast, Friday the 13th, Get Slayed, The Hellming Power Hour, Hello, This is the Doom Show, Hero Hero Go Show, Kill the Cast, Underwater Kaiju from Outer Space, Jerry Hates Action, Legion After Dark, Mental Health, Obsessive Cinema, Discourse, Pick 6 Movies, the podcast by The Cemetery, the podcast on Haunted Hill, the Psychosemantic Podcast, Rick Radio, House of Wax, Dude Looks Like the 80s, Rabbit and Red Radio, the Shadecast, Short Bus Cinema, 2 Drink Minimum Commentaries, the VD Clinic, Who Will Survive Horror Podcast, and Witch vs. the Doomsday Clock. With such a wide spread of shows, there is guaranteed to be a niche for you to fall in love with. Horror, politics, movies, books, sex, music, commentaries, health, video games, kaiju, action, news, comedy, and opinions that would most likely get you killed in some parts of the world. We are proud to bring you some of the best podcasting in the world. Check us out at www.legionpodcast.com, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and any other dark corner of the internet where podcasts can be found.